Oh, welcome to Gambia Radio and Television Services. My name is Fatou Diba. We have the Ombudsman Hour today. In the studio here with me, I have officers from the Ombudsman. Welcome to the show. You can kindly introduce yourselves.
Thank you, Madam Diwa. I am Juma K. Kamara, Director of Communications at the Office of the Ombudsman.
And you are?
I am Lamin Sedikan, Principal Investigator, Office of the Ombudsman.
You're welcome to the program. Juma, of course, I know this is a sensitization where you people want to talk to the public about your role and what you do for the general public. Why do you think it is important to have this program?
Okay, thank you very much. I think it is extremely important in the sense that as a service provider, it is important for people to know what services we offer so that they will know what to expect from the Ombudsman. But also, when it comes to awareness creation, it goes beyond making our services known. The Ombudsman is about regulating the public sector. And regulating the public sector is not only through receiving complaints and dealing with complaints. It is important that we seek to prevent whatever is giving rise to the complaints. So through our various awareness creation programs, we seek to influence or bring about good behavior in public officers to ensure that in the course of official duty, they are treating members of the public in line with the laws, with the rules that guide operations of public institutions, to ensure that the rights of people are respected, and to ensure that whatever it is done is in line with good administrative practice. So I think through sensitization programs, we are able to bring out issues and discuss issues that people will reflect on and say, oh, okay, I think it's better not to do this, or on the whole, this is wrong. But also that people who are being treated unfairly or unjustly in the course of official duty, that these people will be emboldened.
And they understand that there's a body that is there for
to know
them.
that, okay, there's an ombudsman office that we can go to help us with our complaints. That's why it is important.
Mr. Saidi, as an investigator, I know when some of these complaints come to you, how do you go about it, especially investigating issues?
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Diwa. As you rightly said, investigation unit is one of the core mandate of the Office of the Ombudsman, because when complaints are filed, the first port of call will be the complaints officer. But who comes to complain is a person who is aggrieved by a decision of a public officer or a public institution or somebody who is executing a public function. So when a complaint is brought to us, the complaint officer will register the complaint, but there are some questions that you will ask. Like, for example, if you are a public officer, you want to complain against your senior for a decision that is made by your senior, we will ask you what step have you taken before you come to the Office of the Ombudsman in order to settle your problem. Some problems could have been solved or could be solved within the institution itself if maybe one or two steps is taken without going to the Ombudsman. Because the Ombudsman is always seen as the last resort. That's what we always advise. Because when we receive these complaints and we investigate, we recommend a corrective measure. And our investigations are done in two ways. We have reactive and proactive. Reactive in the sense that aggrieved persons will come to the Office of the Ombudsman to file in their complaints, where we receive these complaints and it is assigned. First, what is being looked at is the jurisdiction, the admissibility of the complaint, where the complaint is within a mandate. So the complaint officer, we have a qualified, trained complaint officer who determines what case to take and what case not to take. So for them, they will assess the case, and these cases are forwarded.
Sorry, but if you say what cases to take and what not to take, what does that mean?
Yes, complaints that are within the public sector. That is complaints that emanated from the official function of the public officials in the execution of their official duties. People can say, why? I live with somebody who is a public officer in the same compound, but the person is refusing to pay my rent. That is not a complaint that we can take, because that is not in the execution of his official duties.
Okay.
Okay? So people need to understand this.
That, yeah.
But when a public officer is executing his official duties, like a police officer on the road, like a teacher in a school, like a nurse in a hospital, like other public officers doing their jobs, official duties, when people feel aggrieved of their functions, they can always come to us and complain. So that's why complaints can come within the public sector, and also members of the public can also complain against the public officials.
Okay.
So that's why the complaints officers are trained to determine this. First, they will listen to everybody.
Okay.
You come with any information, they listen to you. And when these complaints are registered, it is forwarded to the next level. So there, the admissibility aspect is determined. Sometimes complainants are invited at the office level, where the first stage, the complaint is dropped and settled. Sometimes it doesn't have to go to maybe another level of investigation.
What determines that?
What
determines cases to be dropped at that initial stage?
Yes, because some people will not understand issues, or the procedures of the public service.
Okay.
This is one of the major problems that the public officials are facing nowadays.
Okay.
So eventually when it happened, so we try to put the right procedures for you to follow. And there you will say, I don't know about this. So before you proceed on the case, or before we proceed on the case, they will say, okay, let me go and talk to X, Y, and Z. So eventually the case is settled.
Okay.
Yes. So basically, when we receive complaints, we investigate. After investigation, we recommend a corrective measure within the laws, the constitutions, the service rules, the code of conduct of the public service.
Which is very important.
Which is very important.
Yes.
We don't come with recommendations out of blues. We use the institution's service rules or regulatory instrument for us to come to a recommendation for that public officer to be disciplined, or for a redress to be made.
To resolve the matter.
Yeah. So.
Juma, ngamara mitama nika kanolal domanding, ambani ngol men benjibe kang Office of the Ombudsman ni wolle bijang, dana ka nyille multi men ya lonko mbafle nyaadile fahamul balia membe dunda mol ni ila do kudlal tema o public service servant so kono ay tolle ka koni ka jibe ka kisir kala anin ka jibe iba akoni sambala nyama juma doron ko ngi ni kanu men yema fo angale kanto mune nyim kuma yandi pour ka nana ni mole kacha alla do ko kenya
ya baraka bake diba lafta bum fola wala nyindi ko kuma ya membe nyinti wala nyindi ko ombudsman office ni aja lota alota le pour muleti muna fangala anduti muna fanola fangala ni atre mo wolon kan wolon akam to ko ombudsman betar la jela do nga wul sama nda do nga ta do ko la nga ji so ularo nga na bagol sika nga sayna ban ning ayatara mul yalo muni atna office ni lota isaje ibe wul la lay nang mul walen ke muna fang ombudsman la service wol ngo aboko na fana dalilu mi atna ko mayata pour nga wuli nga mul kachandi wolam nyinti ko ninko molye ko ya ko soto masala bundar do ko lalto mun katinde ka wuli nan kana ombudsman pour ka kalamiro ke je na hamu man ke nyinti dronga wobatu wayke bar na hamu mu nyinti ko ngatray nganna sim falta kaje ko wokana soto ado ninko wokana soto muni bo sabla fu ngat singa ka chalke ko wala bundalla munul ko wol sifal sabu ibajale ko nimmole suuteroke miliyalon ko lebe do ko la andi ka mulla nyantol tinya onte ka tama silol la miliyalon ko anim sartol manta warante ka kolke miliyalon ko anim maral nya nyima fota nyokole ibajale ko se krosiroke se falindiroke ila tanyalla ka sim falta singol miliyalon ko abe falindiro ni nyatuta na fil ila dulal anem fulanja pour moli yek hañiro soto ifangolto kaje ko ni munta la nyantolati ka wuli kata ombudsman ning ayatara na nyato tinyata ni mun tala nyantolati pour nga wuli ngaje ko na bedo ko la dame falendiro e keje ni mun tala nyantolti de banko dingo pour kaje ko mansala bundal mansala do ku dal falingo e sotoji wala min de ko yeta silol la silol mi yalon ko nyata wala ta silol la silol mi yalon ko anin sartol ni luwali ñu moyle ni ayatara wo manke doron akam da ko taño e ka fa nyaado tañaaro 5 mo betal la tala nyaado be kala mu lokko ma kadum ko kol do bije mi yalon ko sin fa do bije mansala do ko la tamande andi ayo tamande molle kan ko la min yalon ka wala tamande mol kan anda tamala do ko no anana sarton ni luwal foto nyoko wato do ko mol tardende le amanke dan amon dan nyina mol nyina nyanto tinya mo ñu man torale ay sartol fan tinyale andu lañum fanan na long kangol moment pour ko tañato ay wo sayndi ko mal so wala tuna pour ka fundi ni mole kacha ni bundalla akumayatal say ni ayatara de bela felanga dum kende ke
minala fenke fana ala sedi ala koteke sedi kan be surwa ko manika ko ala be jimal fola ba ngaji gi manika ko mbolo fola doro nga ko yayi tan nyama ala kisir bunda atul kata taman ni nyama lafta doro ini mole wala kaja ambadi ngol nyato do mon ding be layno lela layele isa ja be kol keno la sa kaja lafta ni len karo men nyinin kala itul bijanne bo jabe la lela
okay comme kumol men fo angale kanto ka fo manika kanto même kisi rodi comme nga fo nyame wala ombudsman na to ko asembobe waraden bunga ba menti wala kisi ro because ni mole kalamiro mo molla miro lelti mo monin kuma sifa bele kanan tol kan barin kala mo bele la bari pour nga keso bondi jabo kono wala ko kisi ro le ko sabu mbaytan la mol na kisi ro alamane aka wara ko nimbe na kisi la nga make sure at least nyenna fengo fen jube la ngo jube men be ko saratol la bundal alna kisi ka kenin kullo la fanan kono so ngaita ni mola ni moy kalamiro soto pour man sakundala bundala man sakundala do kulala karola ni bela do kol kono e sifutano office of the ombudsman ni futa office of the ombudsman e be mo follow men taraje wala the complaints officer so in complaints officer wala ka mola kalamirol ta mo nin kalamir futatan tolman tolbuke mari bayke murundi kala moy mo bella but ning abodo stage odo ning complaint officer ata ka futandi next level même mu director of investigation yebo teta wonanda futandi ombudsman anala deputies wollel kasi ka jube nin director of investigation ka jube ning kalamiro men nata fabe na doko kono famanto na doko kono nko kol men yalon ke jube men yalon ko masa kundala doko bundal comme ngaje tilimbale ala kakeje tapale ala kake kala mol kan mol la nyantol katiñaje anim fana wato dol masakunda doku bundal doku lalo niye samba molu kono yanna kam menu nafa e kawol janne kawol nafa e kawol mare nyol tora so mbafla mole ko ni wasifal sotota o man sakunda doku bundal ngana fo do ngeni ala bula wato wati wato dol nyanna wullal ngana nyantol tangi kele yajele so nyanti kele bunda wala sa man sakunda nyim bunda londe nyim bunda comme abenyamen amantra man sakunda la bunda koto independent body lam comme IEC benyamen comme national human rights benyamen comme national council for civic education benyamen ntol mantra ministry koto mbelorim fayen pour ka molla sula ko volta ki jube so ning kalamirol futa ombudsman na deputy man director e ba jubela karila in kalamiro fo abe anina silo tara fani na silo monta bar follow nka men jube ni futa complaint officer ma be nyini kala ite mun sim fanya ta pour que la nyin kalamiro ta ka jara ela ni kuyada kadu fadu azikeno moytara do ko le koto ay tara do ko le koto ay ni kuya kusoto ite mem abete mem koto bari ita malon comme nyimari nkay men kala amang ke silot tumando na itandila o problem woni alsa jara no ata futano la banda because fengo be futal ombudsman den o ka futana banko député bu ngoto dum banko president ka ba kala ma na lowo malon ndol mu blalti men ko nyenna ka labantol ni atani mela sula ko o mela ni ku ada jara no do ko bundata but wato dol ni ku ya dol men be ko comme ye bayla do ko la dismissal yalo tijano la bosse kay ko in dismiss nga singo kacha o de keno bar aussi fal isi futa nomma nim futa da nga jube nga saratol dangi jube dismissal comme ni be mo bayla do ko la saratol le be nyanda tala men la be pare imari nyana kulel kala men yalon ko la seriousness fana nyanda tara nyo normal so ni wasi fal keda musibula no manga kisi fatu mbayna len na office o kisi dal beje men yalon ko office o yo karandile ye londo so de fahamde lukata na kisi ro ngasarato le danke be jube ni nga sarato ni jube jube mpareta ko loi do kulal be kono la men yalon ko ka office o ya mar loi doron ko ya mar wala so bayla ko na kisi ro mpareta nga itandi ombudsman fana ana deputy lesi ni director of invest ya si ya jeko comme kari la nyantota tinyal so ela doku saratol mu nyeti be la renten janning abala nyanto tinyala anyin doku la nyaton ko nyanna ni saratol le normal yajal so ni ngatara no doku nyaton ko mo saratol normal nsafo doku nyaton ko yen na nyanto men tinya asayndam yajal because luwa yo sembo fana na yalo ombudsman ak kono bije
okay
yajal so nse amari ya mari doku la nyaton ko ngafa ko nyinna nyanto ta ya sayndam adum mba fole ko comme faida to being office of the ombudsman lota ntol ni mol men be do ko ke men yalon ko yela nyantol nyana do ko la bundal to momo nata ya ninga kiskiso ngaje ko edi nyaton ko i foltita ku jama ba ka mendi e ka sonna ko la
okay
ba mun na do ko nolta ninga na do ko nyi
tamandi nyama kuma tabake coming back to you, Juma, my question would be a little bit in relation to what Sedikan just mentioned. I want to know, because the first thing people would ask themselves before coming to you to lodge a complaint is, how independent is your body? Yeah, I want you to take us through the independence of your body.
The Office of the Ombudsman is an independent public institution. Independent public institution suggesting that we are not under any ministry. We are not under any department. The Ombudsman is the head of the institution, and he has two deputies. The Ombudsman and deputies have the powers to look at cases or complaints that are brought or lodged with the Office of the Ombudsman, and they arrive at conclusions relating to whether to investigate that, as Sedikan has already stated. And once decision is made to investigate a complaint, the Ombudsman determines the nature, the extent of that inquiry or that investigation. So it is not, as it is provided for in the Constitution, the Ombudsman is not subject to the direction or control of anybody or authority.
No influence.
But it's subject only to the Constitution and the law. And the Constitution clearly stipulated the independence of the office, but also enjoins on all public institutions, authorities, or public officers to assist the Ombudsman in the execution of his functions, to assist the Ombudsman to ensure that the Ombudsman is able to execute his functions, to also protect the dignity, the effectiveness, the independence of the office. That means that if you look at the laws, the Ombudsman is independent. Now, if you look at practice as well, since the inception of the Ombudsman, our work has not been interfered with. There is no authority or individual or public officer that directs the Ombudsman. So the Ombudsman is independent. That means that if you lodge your complaint with the Ombudsman and the Ombudsman arrives at the decision or recommendation, you should not consider it to be flawed because it is influenced by an outsider. That is only arrived at based on the circumstances, based on the evidence before the Ombudsman, and not necessarily because somebody somewhere has remote control to Ombudsman or directed the Ombudsman in any way. So the Ombudsman is completely independent, and people should have that trust and confidence in the Ombudsman to ensure that their complaints will be impartially investigated, objectively investigated, and recommendations are supposed to be complied with, because that is the objective is to ensure that we have a public sector that is accountable, that is transparent, that is effective, that is well suited to take our country to the level that we yearn for.
Yeah. Mr. Sadikan, as a principal investigator, I would like to know, in many cases, what are some of the complaints that civil servants lodge? Just so people will pay attention to some of those things. What are some of the complaints that you get a lot?
Okay. We normally receive series of complaints from all walks of life, ranging from unfair treatments, injustice, claiming for benefits. Is one of the things that one of the issues that we normally look at. Because if you look at the public service, I don't know whether we have our information problem or what. You realize that public officers will retire before they get their benefits. It will take them almost 2 years or so.
After retiring?
Yes.
Okay.
And the GO have clearly stipulated that before a public officer goes for retirement, he or she should be notified 6 months before the retirement. So the expectation is within that 6 months before he goes for retirement, his benefits should have been all be calculated
and in place.
But this is not happening. What happened is at the end of people's retirement, that's the time even they'll be going back and forth. When they are tired, that's the time they come to the office of the Ombudsman.
Okay.
These are one of the issues.
And this is not in line with the service rule and regulations.
Yeah, some people even die without getting their benefits.
Very unfair.
Their families will make a follow-up to their benefits. Eventually, all efforts will just be futile.
But in situations like that, what step do you take?
Well, our role is when cases are reported, we make follow-ups. Because a file will be lying down somewhere as the action officer is not doing anything about it. So, but when we knock at their doors, they act.
They act, okay.
Yes. So that is one of the issues that is always coming to us.
Oh, it looks like we have a caller. Hello.
Yes. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Is it the office of the Ombudsman?
Yes. I have officials of the Ombudsman here today.
Okay, but I'm seeing the number on the face of the GRTS TV. Am I calling there?
Yes, you are connected.
Yes, hello.
Yes, can you get me? We can get you clear.
How are you, madam?
Fine, thank you.
Okay. How are you and how is work down there?
Work is fine. Do you want to make any contributions? Aku mura network ko mantara betiyare nama nyomo no. Bari laftala ay même fo doron pour yo sen yandi nye manika kanto e bajala molme be jibe kan benefit ko woni.
Okay, I'm not done yet because
okay, go on,
it's not only about benefits. We have in certain situations where people are denied promotions. Sometimes you may be at certain rank, positions will be there, but because of one reason or the other, or whether you are not in the good book of your head of department, you just deny you promotion. So we receive complaints of that nature. Sometimes there are
looks like we have another caller. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Institution.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Nke moile?
Hello, yes. Are you with me?
Yes, we can get you.
Yes, I am asking if a public officer is working in a public institution. Okay. For instance, he is found one thing of infringing the laws of that very institution.
Go on. Go on.
Okay. All right.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yes.
Yes. So now, if the person is found wanting of infringing the rights or the laws of the very institution, whether we have it in our laws that you could punish the person 2 or 3 times at the same on the same offense.
On the same offense.
If that is the case, what should the office of the Ombudsman do on that very situation? What is their stand there?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You would hear from them. Juma,
all right.
You had this question.
Yes, I had a question. I had a question. If an employee of a public institution behaves in ways contrary to the laws of that institution and he is punished, if he is punished, and you see, the issue of punishment itself is something that you can look into. Somebody may have committed something, but the punishment is not proportionate. So proportionality is an issue that we can look into. Let's assume somebody is late for work or absent from work for a day without permission. And the next step taken by a board of that institution or the chief executive officer or management is that the person is dismissed. So you can see the disproportionality. Okay, so I'm not only talking about the number of times you will punish somebody for the same crime. Obviously, you know how that sounds. You know, what is there to punish somebody 3 times, 2 times? What for? And what punishment? So if a person, that is why we're here, if a person feels that the proposed, the punishment that was meted out to him was not justifiable, then you have the Ombudsman to go to lodge your complaint, and the Ombudsman will investigate that. We are saying investigation because you have to look at both sides. You have to know what the complainant did. You have to look at the behavior of the complainant. You have to look at the history of the complainant. You have to know also what, how the management or the board of that institution behaved in relation to his act of maladministration or act of disobedience or whatever he must have done. So it is a matter for the guy concerned to bring before the Ombudsman, and the Ombudsman will look into it.
Sadikan, just before I come back to you, nyininka me call ke nyininka la nyeme nyininka wolenko nibe do ko wala dulato ay nata fenke me alon kan ndo ko dulanya na sartol manta baru manikol ba fala ko inati illa fi buzola killing fula sabaku killing nyininka ro ke wala ita mari sa mune kino ye Juma, can you take us
ngamon foje ni atara yakul ke men ni sartol fota nyoko men ni silol fota nyoko to nyalam mel martab man sala bundalto ye sembo sotole luwa ko to pour ko mo kulu bar kuluro fanang aning imari menke anyanta nyo moyral comme landa tambo kana soto kuluro wato dol bi jenga complainol mel soto akatara den ni na manke ko mo nyi man kuke ay kuleke bar killing kuluro ni ala alanda tambital wato dol biji kuluro ni fa meya kuluro ki o man sembo soto pour ka kuluro ki so jumale kuluro ki o fam bim korosital wato dol biji te wulete kuluro ki anita manyana kuluro ki gosite man luwa man sembo di tala pour ye mo kulu sa mona ne mo kulu ni te fane mo kulu hanni ayatara we silo latinya o te fane silo latinya ni ayatara ye alanda tambita fana ite fane ye silo latinya ngam fo wala winde ko ni ko ke nyante kulula ay kanyang ila kulu ila baro fe sa ako ye baro ke ye kulu wala sinya killing fula o go bara killingo so ko nyimo kulati asifal milialan ko ntelbe sir njang pour kaji ko al sina mol wali kana futa mol ofisoto pour mol ajibe so what I said was not only the proportionality but also the person who meted out the punishment does he or that authority have the authority to discipline the officer. So it's not only the proportionality, it's not only the appropriateness of the punishment, but also whether the managing director or whoever is there who has taken the decision, whether he has the authority, whether he has the powers to punish the officer who has violated the law or who has violated the rules. So all of these are issues that we look into because, yeah, it's true, an employee is not supposed to violate the rules, and if he does, he should be punished.
For that.
But the appropriate or the right authority is the one that is vested with powers to ensure that is discipline and that actions are taken against and not just any person. So there are so many issues when it comes to actions that the Ombudsman can look into, and people who feel that some of these issues were observed, they can always come to the Ombudsman to lodge a complaint
and get it resolved. We can go back to what you were saying is very important. More many alonko retire pour yele benefito so taka kolea iko mukule de me alonko alko so to baake jel.
Yeah, ka wol mukule de men alonko wol ka sian na office to baake because comme embe men foka angale ka do nka jele mol ka do ko ke fo sangita woro bar loi men fo didata na general orders jande mo veritala kari woro enyanna notify la comme ka kala mutandi ko ninyin karo si de nyanna tala retirement na adu nyanna kaydo fanan dira so wokono loi wonati dalo men kan wolem ko ite mari ite doku la bunda al nyanna fere kala nyum mari la bara nyanna retirement na enough in 6 months or ala benefito ala muna fa nyanna domandi mo men sotola yanna o be kensu na nyoka na yalla ndi ni waru sidia
aya sotata bata
bar nga jele mo yalla mo ka karita ala doku bundaldo akada fu sanji saba sanji nan wata do kata wono mo fam fo ka fa ila dimbal fam pour
wala na bata ko tege
ka bata pour ko do nyim fanan soto wata do ko do nyim fam kunna fitinol ka ko so mba fala mo le ko nyimu kulete me alon ko asiata na public service to so ning aketa men nan ka soto le ban nabe men na karola alkane badu time always ko maybe sanji kin sanji fula bulano me masut ni ya try ke sanji kar kilim fula do yaje tafalo be dame ndola do ko be bulala normale tumando file be larin dulal to amantra move ka because ni retire ila nya do kula nya ton ko nyana kaydo safale yela ko be calculate nyana men soto ya send to PMO na approval ya confirm ni ya confirm ya ina samba treasury from treasury fana ya do ko ni pa ya samba audit fana ya do ko ni pa ya mun nan treasury comme ko no fault ni problem ti jeden sai treasury sina joro
sa atola kisi ro da jama problem o ka bo min tola ka bo do ko dulal to fo PMO fo treasury problem o ka bo min tola jama
problem o ka bo e ka fault
dula beldo
because wato dol follow sita la PMO
akam tanga kola do so hello
Good evening. I want to contribute to the program.
Go ahead.
Yes, I mean, I have a doubt whether the Ombudsman has jurisdiction in terms of, when it is not about, government institutions. Do they have that authority over other, to be more specific, like a bank? Like the bank.
Like the bank, okay.
One is, not genuinely, sacked from his or her position. Does the Ombudsman have that jurisdiction to handle that case?
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the question. Yeah. You can come in.
Thank you for the caller and the viewer. Yeah, this is also something that is very important and need to be communicated to the general public. Because we are receiving a lot of private sector cases. And the laws of the Gambia, the constitution, that is, if you go to the constitution, section 165, okay, created the office of the Ombudsman. Okay, so the acts also that is promulgated by the National Assembly specify that the roles and the functions of the office of the Ombudsman. So from that act, we are only limited to public officials and public institutions. Private sectors, for now, are not within our jurisdiction. But we are receiving a lot of complaints, and what happened when they come to us, we refer them to either labor or alternative dispute resolution, or sometimes human rights.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because these institutions can look into both public and human rights can look at both public and private.
Yeah.
But labor can look look into private, whilst ADR can also look into private.
Okay.
So that is how we do it. But banks are not within the mandate of the Office of the Ombudsman. The banks, the hotels, you have these private companies, they are not within. But when we refer, we don't only stop there. We monitor how these complaints are being handled by these respective institutions that we refer.
Which is very important.
Yes, because our role is to ensure that all public officials do their work within the laws of the land. So, but unfortunately, that is this is always the cry of many people from the private sector.
Yeah.
They always come to us, but unfortunately.
But luckily, you still serve as a guide because you refer them to other places and still make follow-up.
Sometimes when they come from the complaints officer, they are brought to the director of communication, sometimes who can sensitize them about our role, refer them. Sometimes to the director of investigations, who can always advise them and refer them. Yes, we even take note of such complaints that is brought to our office.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Juma, I'll come back to you.
But before you ask the question, can I say, when we say banks, let us say private banks.
Private banks, okay.
So that it is clear, because central bank is not a private bank, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
and is it trust bank? Is that?
It's private.
It's a private bank.
Let's say any bank that is not private, you can complain.
Lodge a
complaint
complaint. Yeah, I just want you to dwell more on your mandate.
Yes, okay, good.
As an office.
Good. And listening to the caller, sometimes we need to make it very clear that the jurisdiction of the Ombudsman covers the entirety of the public sector. So when we say the public sector, it means that the complaint that the Ombudsman receives must be a complaint against a public institution or public officer.
Okay.
So what that means is that you don't have to be a public officer to lodge a complaint.
Okay.
So sometimes people think, okay, when I have a problem at my place of work, when they, some of the things, when I'm denied my salary, when I'm not promoted, when I'm denied my leave, when I'm not given my retirement benefits, when my death, our brother or relative, his death gratuity is not processed, and all of those things. That's one of it. But all of us, whether you are a Gambian or not a Gambian, young or old, male or female, as long as you live in the Gambia, you will always interact with public officers. When we need electricity, we go to NAWEC. When we need to process our traveling documents, we go to the immigration. When we have problems, we go to the police. So you don't have to work for these institutions. But anytime you go to these institutions to access their services, and in the course of accessing the services, you are treated unfairly or unjustly, or you are discriminated, or you are defrauded. I mean, you become an...
I think it's really important
issues
people
of corruption.
That point.
Maybe, for example, sometimes you go to an institution, you are supposed to pay for services, or maybe services that you're not supposed to pay for. Somebody asks you to pay for.
Pay for it, okay.
Or you go and you're supposed to pay for something, and it's $100, and then you are told, okay, yes, it's $100, but if you pay $200, it will be faster.
Faster, yeah.
Do you understand?
And we see that happen here a lot.
And or you pay, and the receipts, you're not given any receipt. Or you pay, you paid for the services, you're given a receipt.
Looks like we have another caller. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Yes, hello,
Yes,
good evening.
I want to contribute to the program.
Yes, sure, go on.
Yes, my name is Mr. Osman, sir. Thank you for the program.
You're welcome, Usman.
Yes, okay, I'm calling from London.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I just having a question. Like some of the people I had a discussion with, like most of the people that have been returned from Europe to Gambia, most of them, the way they were treated was not right, and their rights were violated. Upon arrival at the Gambia, sometimes they could not give them anything, like if you look at the Gambian government.
Okay.
So I had a discussion with people. Some of the complaints were lodged to you, and is there any disciplinary action the Ombudsman can take against some of the senior government officers in the Gambia, because some of them may think that they are above the law.
Okay. Okay.
So that's my name down, because I got someone, he was returned from Europe and he came to the Gambia. There was nothing has been given to the person. So the person was struggling unless he started to develop some mental issues.
Okay.
And some of the complaints were lodged to the Ombudsman, but they said that still nothing came out of it.
Okay.
Okay, that's my question.
Thank you for your contribution. I believe your question would be answered. Juma, you had this question.
Yes, I heard the question. Whether we can look into their treatment. I already said that even if you are not a Gambian, if you believe that you are treated unfairly, if you believe you are treated inhumanely, if you believe you are treated in a way that is not in line, then you have a right to go to the Ombudsman.
But he said
so when it comes to, say, what's supposed to be given, so all the investigations will reveal the issue of deportation, who was supposed to treat who, and supposed to be treated in what way, and how the person was treated. Whatever surrounds the issue, these are issues. Now, is it the immigration is talking about? Immigration is within the jurisdiction of the Ombudsman.
Ombudsman, okay.
So that is why we cannot go and list all the institutions that are within. That we can say, if you are sick, you go to the hospital. I don't mean a private hospital, but you go to the government hospital, and you are treated in a way that you feel is not okay. You have every right to complain against their behavior. So there is no exclusion. As long as it is a public officer, as long as he believed that his right was trampled upon, as long as he believed that what he was entitled to was not given to him, it is his right to come to the Ombudsman. Then the other issue is, he said they have lodged a complaint already to the Ombudsman.
Yes, they still haven't had anything.
So we not need to understand maybe when was the complaint lodged. Maybe they thought, okay, within a week the complaint should have been dealt with, or within a month, or no. So I think what they're supposed to do is, if they do not hear from the Ombudsman, they can get back to the Ombudsman to make follow-ups. But I believe that any complaint that is lodged with the Ombudsman, and the Ombudsman has jurisdiction to deal with that complaint is processed, is investigated, and brought to its logical conclusion. So maybe the process is on. I have no idea the complaint actually he is talking about, but I can tell you that
I would like to ask this question because sometimes the severity of the case, or maybe how complicated it is, those that determine the duration of investigation.
Sometimes it is about the respondent institution.
Okay.
Their level of cooperation. Of course, they are all cooperating, but you can have varying levels of cooperation, and maybe how fast other people respond to queries or letters or inquiries. That will determine it, and it will also determine the nature or the extent to which the Ombudsman is looking into the matter, or what documents he wants the Ombudsman is trying to lay hands on, or what evidence the Ombudsman is trying to lay hands on. So all of these things can, and even sometimes even complainants can be a source of delay themselves. Okay. Sometimes you just lodge a complaint and maybe you're not available, you're hard to reach, nobody knows where you are, that kind of thing. Maybe after some time, and maybe they needed the investigator has some questions for you to ask you about some matters for clarification, and you're not available. So several factors, I can tell you, several factors are responsible for delay of cases, but if the Ombudsman has evidence and cooperation and all of the things that are required, a case can be dealt with speedily. And that is the advantage that the Ombudsman has, because there's a reason why the Ombudsman has the currency. I mean, like, is the fashion when it comes to justice, administrative justice. Everybody wants to go to the Ombudsman in the sense that the Ombudsman services are completely free of charge. That's impartiality, the objectivity. There is, it's speedy. It's not like some of the institutions that you go to and it gets adjourned after for a long time. Relatively, the Ombudsman deals with the matter speedily and resolve it. So I will urge him
to make follow-up again. Yeah.
I think he can get back to us after this program. If he does with me, definitely we will bring this matter up. And so to know also, sometimes also I've experienced during programs that people say we went to the Ombudsman and they have not even been to the Ombudsman. Sometimes there is miscommunication somewhere, maybe within the family or within the, sometimes I have experienced that. And I do know even on programs, somebody say, okay, I lodged my complaint with the Ombudsman, and it's a private sector complaint. And he said the Ombudsman did not do anything. So how would you expect the Ombudsman to handle a private sector complaint and deal with it? But he said this thing boldly on television here. And that it was this GRTS program. So whatever is the case, let him be sure that that is the case, and let him get back to us. And I can tell you that the Ombudsman will look into it and arrive at a conclusion.
Saidi Khan, I will come back to you. What does your investigation entail? I know it's fair. I know you are independent. But what again? Professionalism.
Just like what Juma said, our investigation is thorough. Just like the caller who is just from calling with regards to a complaint that he believes was lodged to our office. Investigation is a process, because normally when we receive complaints, to begin with, we will sometimes write to the head of that department or that particular public officer for him or her to respond to the allegations levied against you. So it's about, because somebody comes with a statement, an allegation to you, you don't have to take one side.
No, you have to
find out from the other side.
Both sides,
So sometimes the period that we receive this response, sometimes that delays our investigation. Because sometimes you write, you have to send a reminder, because the law has given us powers to summon people who refuse to answer to the call of, maybe Juma will talk about the powers of the Ombudsman. Yes, that is very important that public officers need to understand. Yes, and during that process, we need to consult a lot of regulations. Yes, because if you said a returnee returns and is expected to get something, he didn't get that until he goes insane or so. There must be a regulation that says when return is returned, this will be their package. And also the authorities concerned that are implementing that regulation also need to be known. So eventually, our investigation is not limited to maybe just one side. We look at a lot of issues surrounding the complaint before we arrive at the recommendations. Yes. So our investigation is thorough, is effective, and we are independent. We are not influenced by any public officer.
I think that is clear at this point. Like he mentioned, you can speak on the powers of the office of the Ombudsman, but can you do that in Mandinka so that the local viewers would get to understand all these things?
Akamu fuji wala mi ndiko mune Ombudsman la sembut. Ning luwaye bunda londi puru ayatama kalumu la hajola atabayla no fo luwa sa sembentu ya isaja sala doko keno membe je wala nyinti ko ni ayatara bunda la miyalon ko abe Ombudsman kotole wala nyinti ko comme Ombudsman luwaye bunda nyi chodi le ka ko Ombudsman sikisiro keno o bunda ton abe symbol kono le Ombudsman ne men sito kaji ko momondi membe wo bunda to momondi membe doko wala wo bunda to wonto momondi miyalon ko ise fellonno kuto miyalon ko wala kalamiro kete o bundal ko Ombudsman ye sembo soto le kete mario nyininka ka kisiro wala fitate la ke nyininka o nyininka ro dum fana Ombudsman ne nyanto soto le ay sembo soto le ke kalende abol kono fana ne Ombudsman sulata fo fendi nawo ilo alla bundato ala nyanta ka di ni ko voucherlem nyanta ka di ni ko fende men ko kaytu ma sa ferol lem fo fende mi yalon ko kitabol lem sulo bi jelle tarol nyanta ka di Ombudsman loi sembo di ala fo ne ayatara atata fo wol mon soto Ombudsman sembo sur la ka 6
ite mom fana nyanta ka kisi ro ke la sulo be je pour jabiro ka ni ayatara mi salfa ye banne ombudsman c'est samon sunole pour yena ni ayatara do han ka bi de man samon so ni jabi ombudsman de sembo so la fan ka waranto bondi inspector general of police ko pour yete mario arrest ye na fe na ombudsman ya
okay ali o sembo so wala hamra ale sembo bala so
alhamdulillah nyam
Sedikan, just before we wrap up, because time when some Namansia back, I would like you to update us on asset declaration.
Okay, nyimu fanalti me alonko fanna kuma bale mu niaje puruka tapaleya kele nyimbankonka. Ningo asset declaration constitutional la fanna men ena na wole fanna mo kilinti section 223 me aitandiko public officer comme mansakunda la doku bundal doku lal ibe nyane la soto fengo itandila office of the ombudsman la soto fengo anila julol men yalon ko abe kan kunna nyanna itandila la nibe mansakunda la palaso marala nibe dunna palaso comme ibe palaso tala ibe palaso dilela nyane soto fengo itandila ombudsman sanji fula fana nyane soto fengo itandila ombudsman anim fana nibe palaso nyim fana mbulala ñenne soto fengo itanda ombudsman because ni soto fengo itandila membe kala mitala nga jube comme yeme itande fo wala be sotore pour ka tapalaya anin tilimbalya nakaro pour ka dol jube because nga jele comme ñim banko kan sandem corruption mo be ka wala bar mbayden la mo la ko ko be jele menna ko be corruption o day ba prevent kan even na constitution o do in 1997 constitution e beje ye symbol the office of the ombudsman adum ba fula mole ko molbe corporate kan because minister yela assessor declare ni ombudsman ye men fana bondi biri vita yela assessor declare fengo fana permanent secretary fana yela assessor declare deputy permanent secretary managing director SOEs ila nyaton kol director mbejila la fo duma me alonko momo yalonko ibe ma kamara fenna muna la mansakunda la muna la mbejila la fo dol kan pour momo nyane muna fon itan soto fon itan de la office of the ombudsman ni be mansakunda do ko so bayela ko nyi mu dalila te pour memba sabla tapaleal nin tilimbalial
we danno baraka bake juma wato yen semen amansia sela wato bandale but just before we go what are your last words?
That the ombudsman we are located at Cape Point. We have regional offices in Basse, in Masakonko, in the Kerawan, and recently we have opened our CRR office. Okay. The Ombudsman want to have a presence in all the regions. So if you have your complaints, lodge your complaints with the Ombudsman, and the Ombudsman will speedily, impartially look into your complaint, and you will not pay anything. The services
it's free, completely
free of charge.
Okay,
completely free of charge.
Thank you so much. It was good having you here, Mr. Sedikan and Mr.